gotta unmute myself. Good evening. Thanks for joining the Keith Goldsby Show. I appreciate everybody that has been here, who's been watching me, who's been listening to me, going out to the trees, talking about world events and the things that have been going on this week. The amount of research that actually goes into these subjects is quite intense, as you guys have been seeing. There's a lot of news stories that comes out there. Hey, what's up, guys? We're gonna talk about three major news stories today. We're gonna start with domestic issues, and then we're gonna go to geopolitics. I love you guys. Came straight from Insta. I appreciate that. Yeah, my biggest following right now is on Instagram. I'm trying to spread out the love through all of my socials, and I want to be able to get this show, the Keith Goldsby Show, to a once weekly at Friday to talk about the weekly events and to have a breakdown about what's going on, so you guys can understand where we are at the end of every week, so you know how you're going into the weekend. And then we'll keep up a cadence unless some kind of severe event happens. If some kind of event happens, you know I'll be on top of that. Okay? So, first off, I want to thank the generous donations that I've been getting to my Venmo. Link is in bio. But 15 minutes before I came onto live, I got a $500 donation. $500. I spent 5 minutes crying with my wife. I'm not even gonna try to hide it, guys. You know, I'm pretty confident with what I do and with myself. I'll tell you, we spent 5 minutes crying. So, you know, everybody knows shit is tough right now, right? And so I appreciate everybody that sends $5 or $10, but $500 made me stop. It made me stop. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, first, what we're going to be talking about today is the civil unrest in Minneapolis. The issue with Minneapolis right now is a federal immigrations and customs enforcement action in the city. What does that mean? That means that if you're not a permanent lawful resident of the United States with proper paperwork, then you are subject to enforcement action. Now, that does not discriminate if you've been here for 25 years, 40 years, 1 year. It is the law. But here's the question that everybody has to start asking, especially Republicans. You know, for a long time I considered myself a Republican. We want to be able to solve the immigration problem. And we do want a secure border. Because you do not have a country without secure borders. But is this the right way of doing things? Do we want to be known as the country that walks down the road and you need your papers. Excuse me. That's the stuff that you hear in European countries. Where's your papers? Is that what we want here? I agree that criminals need to be locked up. The people that are violent offenders or sexual offenders or child abusers need to be locked up and thrown away. But do we want to be known as the perception of the world that we are the nation where you have to show your papers walking down the street? I appreciate that no. Is this the country that we fought for? We have to start asking ourselves these questions. I understand that laws have to be respected. I understand that people have to do things the right way. But how does the law rectify? I don't think anybody has the right answer to that, which is why we are seeing what we are seeing today. This is a half-century old issue, and it's not going to be solved today. In fact, one of the very first laws about immigration was way back when the United States was expanding to the West. And we had Chinese immigrants that were coming in from Asia. And we had laws that were put into place to limit immigration from China just by itself. Then we had laws for Japan by itself. And you have to ask the question. There are hundreds of millions of people that are starving in the world that need help today. Is it the responsibility of the United States to save all of them? The answer to that question is no, of course, we cannot. We have resource constraints. If somebody breaks down your door and says, hey, I need to sleep here, are you just going to say, okay? However, is the enforcement action that we are seeing today, as Joe Rogan himself has commented on, is it the right way of doing things? And I gotta tell you, maybe for the next 100 years after this, historians may not have the correct answer to it. So, moving to the top story today, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Governor, I forgot his name, Frey, Minneapolis Governor Frey, are under criminal investigation um, for impeding immigration and customs enforcement. So, serious charges. Yes, we need to get our own house in order. America first. You guys will hear me say this 100 times. I am 100% America first. We need to get our own shit straight first. There shouldn't be anybody that is, especially veterans, that are homeless or people that are struggling before we go send money anywhere, guys. Seriously, 100%. Joseph, I agree with you. I agree with you. So, moving back to what I was saying, Tim Walz and Joseph Frey, the Minnesota governor and the Minneapolis mayor, are under investigation federally for impeding ICE. Now, impeding a federal investigation it's serious charges. Okay, serious charges, which can carry serious jail time depending on how many charges that they get him with. Tim Walz has already been under investigation for fraud. And Jacob Frey has had his own struggles along with Minneapolis. So, what does that mean for the chaos in the city? Unfortunately, the demonstrators are going to see this as an attack on their local establishment. So, the protests are probably not going to go away. They're probably going to escalate. Probably going to see a lot more of them. But it's very important, especially people that watch me. If you respect me, if you respect me and what I've been telling you, I will find it completely disrespectful if you cause violence, if you cause destruction. I will personally find it disrespectful. Because men and women have given their lives for this country, for you to go out there and peacefully demonstrate. And if you go out there under the guise of peaceful demonstration and cause violence or destruction, that's wrong. But on the other side, it's important that we maintain a nation of laws and that justice is blind. Lady Liberty is blind. Which means that if there is clear evidence of misconduct, then that needs to be taken care of as well. You can be on both sides of this equation without spontaneously combusting. It's what we call being an American. But do not cross that line into violence. That is un-American. So, I wanted to give you guys my initial thoughts based on what I was hearing on that. And I want to give you guys a quick little tidbit. Again, this is from Fox News. So I'm going to give you guys this news story real quick. Again, I wanted to give you guys my commentary, so it was mostly filled with me before showing you guys, art from another news source. So again, from Fox News. Whoops. And Okay, here we go, guys.
Breaking tonight, Fox News confirms the Justice Department is investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry for allegedly impeding law enforcement efforts on the ground. Again, confirming that DOJ investigation. Progressive Democrats, meantime, were in Minneapolis today, rallying around protesters, claiming the Trump administration is to blame for the chaos. The remarks from Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and Pramila Jayapal come after another night of disorder in Minneapolis. Congressional correspondent Bill Malugin has the story live from inside Minneapolis. Good evening, Bill.
Yeah, Brett, good evening to you. We begin with some breaking news. You just mentioned it just moments ago. Multiple DOJ sources confirming to Fox News that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry are now both under federal investigation for allegedly interfering with immigration enforcement here in Minnesota. We are told that probe is early but ongoing. More on that for our viewers as we get it. In the meantime, despite a snowstorm out here in Minneapolis, it appears we are headed for yet another night of protests on the ground. You can see the crowd continues to grow here at the Federal Whipple building here in Minneapolis. These federal agents aren't backing down, and the protesters say they aren't going anywhere either. Tensions and tear gas flaring in Minnesota as anti-ICE chaos boils over. Protesters taking out their anger on federal immigration agents and their vehicles outside of the federal building in Minneapolis Thursday night as the two sides squared off once again. Oh, wow. The feds are cracking down on the lawlessness, arresting a man accused of being a part of this mob as they broke into and vandalized an FBI vehicle. Homeland Security charging Raul Gutierrez, who they say is a Latin Kings gang member, with stealing a rifle and body armor.
Minnesota, you are not alone, and we will stand up for real accountability, for justice, for all of you and for all of America.
As some progressives call to defund ICE, congressional Democrats held a field hearing in nearby St. Paul today. They point the finger at the Trump administration for the ongoing violence that intensified after an ICE agent shot and killed Renee Good in what DHS calls self-defense.
It is increasingly clear that the entire purpose of these actions is to provoke chaos and fear in order to justify invoking the Insurrection Act and expand the president's ability to rain terror upon American cities who do not vote for him.
While President Trump has threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act, for now, he says he's not quite ready to send in the military.
I don't think there's any reason right now to use it, but if I needed it, I'd use it. It's very powerful.
And Brett, just moments ago, DHS released yet another worst of the worst list of criminal illegal aliens arrested by ICE right here in Minneapolis. Yesterday alone, they include a convicted murderer from Vietnam, a man from the Marshall Islands with 24 separate criminal convictions, and multiple convicted drug traffickers. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Malugin, live in Minneapolis. Bill, thanks.
Okay, so that is Minneapolis, guys. Let's see here. I'm going over the the comments here. The woman. Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just reading comments. So, final thoughts. It's important as Americans that we put a check on the federal government. There should never be an entity or somebody that has total power. But at the same time, we are a nation of laws. And people, like we just heard, murderers from Vietnam, people with criminal convictions that are violent, sexual predators, get them off the streets. However, on the other side of the equation, they are picking up people that are working on construction sites that have no criminal convictions, and the only criminal thing that they are doing is existing in this country, which again, I'm not giving an excuse for. However, there is a difference between a murderer in Vietnam and a construction worker that's here illegally that's trying to work to feed their family. So those are my final thoughts. And I know not everybody disagrees with or agrees with what I'm saying, but those are my opinions, and I respect everybody here, and hope we can all say, hey, that's an interesting perspective, and walk away from it. Okay. All right, so next, geopolitics, my speciality. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Greenland. NATO nations are sending reinforcements to Greenland, although not very many. And what is going on with this is that they are sending a legal soldier from a different location, and it's having a legal meaning. For example, I think France sent one soldier or something like that. The fact that they sent one soldier is a legal thing, because if incoming fire from America comes in and kills that soldier, then incoming fire from America killed a French soldier. So, this is how things are developing right now. Canada went to China today, and they signed a new agreement for their EV vehicles, along with coordination between their two economies. Canada, in the same meeting, said to the world that America needs to meet its Article 5 requirements and to stop threatening a NATO ally. That's what Canada said. Yep. New World Order. Joseph, you're right. So, let me give you some historical context to what I think is happening. And just because it rhymes doesn't mean that there's an exact correlation. For example, I want you to understand that I am not directly calling Donald Trump the mustache man. Okay? I'm not doing that. I'm comparing and contrasting different military scenarios with what's going on today. So, with that being said, Venezuela was a direct historical equivalent to when Hitler took Czechoslovakia and Austria. Pre-war land grabs. Why? Why is there pre-war land grabs? Anybody? While I take a sip of my wine. The rhyme that I'm talking about is the seizure of land for resources as a stepping stone for future plans. So again, the rhyme is Venezuela is a direct historical equivalent to Austria and Czechoslovakia. What is Canada? Who is Canada riving with? Let me give you guys a little bit of a hint here. Multiple nations start backing a nation in World War II and draw a clear line in the sand for the Mustache Man and said, if you invade this country, it means war. That direct historical equivalent is the invasion of Poland. We are in a direct historical rhyme with pre-invasion of Poland right now. We have multiple allies that are sending reinforcements to a location that we are threatening. Historians will point to this rhyme and they will mark this moment before a decision was made. What is after Greenland? Let's say that the United States successfully captures Greenland. Let's just say it happens. What's next? You have to remember that the Earth is a globe, right? So Greenland is towards the northern part of this globe. And the melting ice caps that are going around Greenland is opening up a new trade route. We talked about this last week, right? The control of that trade route is going to control a lot of the world's economy because estimates say that it will be more efficient than the Panama Canal. How many wars have we fought over Panama? What's next after Greenland? Is Europe about to be squeezed by two regional powers? The United States and Russia? Here's what I think. If you guys have been following me, been watching my videos, this is going to be incredibly hard for a lot of people to hear, especially the patriotic people that listen to my channel. I'm a very patriotic person and I love my country so much. And it hurts me to say this. There is no longer a superpower in the world. We now have 3 regional powers. Russia, China, and the United States. Russia is pushing on Ukraine and wants to push to Europe. China is expanding its influence to Africa and wants to take Taiwan. And the United States just took Venezuela and made it a puppet state. We're talking about taking Cuba. We're talking about sending troops into Colombia and Panama. And now we are talking about invading a NATO ally in Greenland. We are exactly where Chamberlain was trying to negotiate with Hitler to prevent him from invading Poland. The world is trying to convince the United States to stop from going after Greenland. We are in a direct historical correlation, a rhyme with pre-invasion of Poland. Just something to think about. When I tell you guys in my videos, we continue to be in a pre-World War. What is that? What is a pre-World War? That is a Cold War. We have always had our Cold Wars with two different powers, Soviet Union and the United States, for example. We are now in a three-way Cold War, and those three regional powers are about to play ball on the land that we have on this earth. We are imminently about to have a new world order. These things that you're seeing with Iran and with Venezuela and with Cuba, Taiwan, and Ukraine, they are all connected. In fact, I think one of the most concerning locations on the earth right now is between Taiwan and China. On December 11th, I told you guys about a story that came out from the Telegraph that the United States has assessed through its own intelligence and its capabilities that the United States military would be completely destroyed by the Chinese military in a confrontation over Taiwan. This was a U.S. military assessment. Again, reported by the Telegraph. I have not seen it. But it highlights a concern over artificial intelligence and resources. And it tells a story on why we are going for more resources. Why are we going for more resources? Why are we going for more resources? Yes, that's why we are having an additional $500 billion. Listen, we are having another $500 billion in our budget for next year for the military. Because we are in a new Cold War. We are lucky if we are not already in World War III. I said it. We are lucky if we are not already in World War III. For example, let me lay out something for you guys. When Germany invaded Poland, nobody considered that invasion at the time as being the start of World War II. Nobody did. It is now widely recognized by military scholars that the invasion of Poland was the start of World War II. Was the invasion of Ukraine going to be considered the start of World War III? I still think that we are looking at an imminent invasion of Taiwan, which we'll talk about here soon. So, going from Greenland, I do have a piece here. Just like with my other piece that I told you guys about before, I wanted to give you the majority of the time to get my thoughts here before I put on some kind of news story about Greenland, right? So I don't want to use the time for somebody else talking to you guys, but I do want to give you guys some context. So again, the guys on Instagram that I'm live with, you guys can't see my desktop. So if you guys want to see my desktop, you guys will have to go to YouTube in the link that I pinned. If it's not working for whatever reason, my YouTube channel is called The Keith Goldsby Show, and you'll be able to see it. So here we go. We're going to go to the next story. I'm going to switch it over here, and we'll be talking about Greenland. The next subject is Iran. So I know you guys are interested in that. That's the majority of our time today will be Iran. Here we go.
So, European troops are in Greenland for a 2-day training mission after the White House met with Danish and Greenland officials this week.
The Vice President and the Secretary of State were present for that meeting. In that meeting, the two sides agreed to really establish a working group of individuals who will continue to have technical talks on the acquisition of Greenland. Those talks will take place, I'm told, every 2 to 3 weeks, but the President has made his priority quite clear. He wants the United States to acquire Greenland. He thinks it's in our best national security to do that. I don't think troops in Europe impact the President's decision-making process, nor does it impact his goal of the acquisition of Greenland at all.
Louisiana Governor, Special Envoy to Greenland, Jeff Landry, joins us now. Governor, what was accomplished, were you told? What was accomplished in those talks, were you told?
Look, I think they finally are having a serious discussion about what a association or cooperation or a relationship, a better relationship with Greenland looks like. I mean, again, the president is serious about reinforcing the Monroe Doctrine. This is something that should have happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we'd been having this discussion. It had been a bipartisan position. Nobody would be complaining. They would say that the president is doing a great job to secure our homeland. Now, because it's President Trump, you know, they just want to complain about it. This is an unbelievable deal. Anyone on the East Coast, Brian, should be concerned.
I don't know if I agree with that.
The Chinese have built more icebreakers in 1 year than the United States has built in the history of the country. They're not building those icebreakers for fun. They're building them in order to be able to gain control of the Arctic. And the president knows that. And look, this is public knowledge. And so if you're on the East Coast, you want a stronger
Right.
presence in Greenland.
So, Governor, the French sent 13 people, the Germans sent 15 people. They want to show a resolve to stand behind Denmark, who runs Greenland. Since we notice they have oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, and well, perfectly located to expand our Golden Dome system, do you think there's a deal to be done there? It seems as though we've gotten their attention. They're concerned about us just taking it. So do you think that there might be a sweet spot?
This is a president who masters deal making. And so, yes, I do believe that there's a deal that should and will be made once this plays out.
So when you see the fact that everyone seems so exercised by this, do you feel as though that makes the president dig in more, or does it make him want to come to the table?
Look, I think that the president is serious. I think he's laid the markers down. He's told Denmark what he's looking for. And now it's a matter of having Secretary Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance make a deal.
Space Command is there. We have not really done much with those bases. And then they have not even explored rare earth minerals. Denmark has not done nothing. Greenland doesn't seem curious. So when you have a recent poll that shows that, and we can put that up, that only 25% of the American people favor it, maybe they don't understand strategically what the benefits are, and 75% oppose, it seems to me that very few would oppose us expanding massive look into their rare earth or expanding the Golden Dome or the missile defense.
Yeah, I don't like this one.
If you live in New England, and certainly again on the East Coast, remember that Greenland is halfway between Russia and Washington, D.C. And of course, you never appreciate keeping the wolf or the bear from your door until they're knocking on it.
Governor, are you going to go? Are you going to go check this out? Are you going to meet with officials?
Absolutely. Look, I think it's a great opportunity for Louisiana. I think it's a great opportunity for America. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for Greenlanders to really expand their economy and join.
Okay, so there's that. So let's talk about what they said right there. Can I turn it up a little bit? Yeah, I'll turn it up a little bit next time. Sorry about that. So what they were talking about right there was the rare earth minerals that they're looking for in Greenland. So one of the problems with this strategy about taking Greenland is that we already have mineral access rights to Greenland. And they talked about the Golden Dome. We're in the perfect position to be able to build the Golden Dome. The U.S. military can build anything on Greenland right now with a simple notification to the local Greenland government. They don't even need permission. What do I think is going on? Greenland is a stepping stone for next steps for what Donald Trump wants to do. And I don't know what those next steps are. But I know that Greenland is pivotal for that. He needs the minerals. He needs the trade route. He needs that area. Everybody needs to start asking, what is next? Let's say that we have let's say that we can snap our fingers. Pow! We have Greenland. Okay. What's next? We have pissed off NATO. Okay. Russia now looks at NATO and says, man, they're really broken up right now. They're pretty pissed off at each other. What if I invade the Baltic states? Previous Soviet states. Do you think NATO comes into full agreement to defend Or do you think NATO shatters? I think as soon as the U.S. would try to do some kind of military action on Greenland, Russia invades previous Soviet states within days. That's what I think. So, the U.S. already has military access to Greenland. They already have mineral access rights. And they are willing to risk losing previous Soviet states for Greenland. Why? Remember, snap your fingers. Pow! We have Greenland. What's next? What's next? Nobody in the government has clearly articulated that to you. What's next? You're going to completely disrupt the world order and put a opening season sign on the previous Soviet states, potentially stretch the entire world that China can invade Taiwan. North Korea could invade South Korea because of this disruption in the world order. You're willing to take all of that risk for Greenland when you already have all of these rights. We are missing something. There is something incredibly important in our future that is tied to Greenland. I've been trying to figure it out. Maybe one day I will. We can already build the Golden Dome in Greenland. Okay? We already have mineral access rights in Greenland. By simply notifying the Greenland government, we can start mining today. We are missing something. Is that something future plans for regional territory? Told you guys before in the beginning of the show, we are now in a three-way regional Cold War. And for those who are just joining, there is no longer a superpower in the world. We have a three-way regional struggle. Russia, the United States, and China. And like it or not, we are in a three-way Cold War with regional conflicts today. So, could Greenland be a staging ground along with a resource-rich mineral location for future conquest? This is where you guys need to start thinking. What is next? What is next? Imagine whenever something like this comes up, let's just say tomorrow, the government tells you we need to take Colombia. Let's just say it as an example. You need to start thinking, what is next? Imagine you can snap your fingers. Pow! You have Colombia in that example. What's next? If you don't have an answer to that, there's a problem. And by you, I mean like Americans. If you're an American and you don't understand what's next, if you can suddenly snap your fingers and get everything the government wants, there's a problem. You are supposed to be involved. You have an input in the say and the future of this nation. People died for your right to say something and to know where we are going. And it's important that you keep that and make sure that you cherish that. It is a gift to have freedom. Cherish it when you still have it. Okay, finally, last story of the night. Iran. The Islamic Republic okay. Okay, let me take a drink real quick before I pop off, because Iran gives me a little bit of a crash out, and I'm going to tell you guys why. When I was in Iraq and I was being shot at almost every single fucking day, where did those rockets and mortars come from? They came from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Hundreds of thousands of rockets and mortars were given to insurgents in Iran, or in Iraq, I mean. And they used them. Iran is probably responsible for at least 1,800 to 2,500 Iraq veteran deaths killed in action because of the materials that were sent to these insurgents. So you have to understand you have to understand where I am coming from with the Islamic Republic. I do not and this is full transparency because I do have bias here, and I'm trying to tell you guys this. I do not support the current government in Iran because of the amount of help that they gave to illegal insurgents during the Iraq War, some of which were fired on my location. So with that being said, let's talk about Iran. On Wednesday, 2 days ago, Kurdish forces invaded Iran. They breached multiple border checkpoints. Why is that important? During Operation Iraqi Freedom, Kurdish forces in Iraq assisted U.S. forces in toppling the Iraqi regime. In fact, U.S. soldiers and Marines bled alongside Kurdish forces, and Kurdish forces took orders from U.S. generals. For years, they took orders from U.S. generals. And now we have Kurdish forces on the ground inside Iran. So there's puzzle piece number 1, ground forces. The USS Abraham Lincoln is moving into the region. It could be there as soon as this weekend, but likely sometime in the middle of the week next week. You saw Trump downplay a lot of the tensions these past couple of days because the United States and a lot of the regional allies were not prepared for a retaliatory attack. So you saw Donald Trump even thanking the Iranian leaders for not executing the prisoners, which we now know Iran's leaders are currently torturing and executing the prisoners that they captured during their protests. We now know that for a fact. It's on the ground. It's on video. After Donald Trump gave the ultimatum, we have multiple reports of people and even children being executed after the ultimatum by Iranian authorities. What does this mean? We had gas tankers, strato tankers, that flew out of Al Udeid Air Base and flew away from the base, and they have not returned. What are strato tankers? They are huge gas stations that fly in the sky. Incredibly huge aircraft. If you were standing next to it, it would be awe-inspiring. Just looking up at this aircraft standing next to it. I mean, that's how big this thing is. And they flew them out of Al Udeid and they have not come back. Almost like these gigantic airplanes would be huge, enticing targets in a massive counterattack. Israel has been prepping its defenses. Netanyahu had 2 calls with Trump. Why 2? The first one to say, hold on a second so I can prepare my defenses, and the second one to say, okay, now you're good. The media has been downplaying the issue with Iran in the past couple of days because it's part of a story. The story of downplaying tensions so the U.S. and everybody else can get into position. And the kill shot is coming for the Islamic Republic. And they don't even realize that they are dead yet. See, a single U.S. aircraft carrier can single-handedly destroy an entire small nation. One single aircraft carrier. And we are sending an aircraft carrier strike group to the Persian Gulf. So you have to wonder, why do we need so much firepower in the war, in the region if we are settling down tensions? It's because the tensions are not settling down. We are making it appear that they're settling down. Right before a massive attack happens. So, what do I think? Last week, I would have told you that I would have expected an attack on Friday night tonight. I would have expected it tonight if you would have asked me last Friday. I would have said it would definitely happen by next week. Now I would say it could happen anytime between now and sometime next week, because of how long the aircraft carrier strike group takes to move to its location. From its location in the South China Sea to move to the Persian Gulf, it would take about 7 days or so. And I was using some calculations from the announcement date to figure out how long it would take. And if we were figuring it out from today, right now, from where they are, they still got about another 4.5 days. Now that's based on the announcement date. It is likely that the aircraft carrier strike group was moving before they made the announcement. Actually, I would say it is highly likely that they started moving before they made an announcement. So what does that mean? I still think a massive and crippling strike is coming for the Islamic Republic. I think Kurdish forces on the ground are going to start softening up ground targets. Kurdish forces will start taking government buildings and cities. and the Islamic Republic is going to fall. That's what I think is going to happen. What happens after? Remember what I told you guys? Let's just say you can snap your fingers today. Pow! Iran and the Islamic Republic is gone. Now you have to do everything else. What happens? Remember? What happens next? Right? Well, we saw what happened with Iraq and Syria. ISIL, the Islamic State, happened. Do we want something worse than Iran to be born? No. Do we want to be involved with nation building? No. Then what the fuck are we doing? I told you guys at the beginning of the show that I am America first. What does any of this have to do with America first? I'm sorry that protesters in Iran are being killed. I'm sorry that these things are happening. But if y'all haven't noticed, we got our own fucking problems. We have some serious fucking problems. And we need to figure out America first before we start forever wars once again. That is not the way that we do things. So, that's Iran. I would say look for ground softening targets being hit as soon as this weekend, maybe into next weekend. And as soon as action happens on Iran, look for action on Taiwan, on China, on North and South Korea, anything to do with Russia and previous Soviet states. Remember what I told you guys, as soon as pressure happens on the world stage, i.e. the U.S. pushing down on Iran, it's going to stretch the assets of the United States. Keep on yawning. It's going to stretch the assets of the United States to the point that they cannot respond to other action items. In North Korea and these other bad actors, they know this. So when we become stretched, they will act. So this next week, before I see you guys again, what are we looking at for this next week? Expect more action and dialogue and harsh words and media twisting shit about Iran. Expect that. Expect more dialogue and discussions about Greenland and what we are doing next. And unfortunately, expect an escalation of civil unrest in Minneapolis that may go to other cities. And I hope does not create a larger civil issue. Again, like I said in the beginning of the call, as Americans, we have a right to peacefully demonstrate. But again, and I'll say this in closing, I will personally find it offensive if there is violence in anything that is going on with Minneapolis. It's not what this nation has fought for in the past. It does not mean freedom when you cause violence. It's the opposite. So, expect more from me over this week. I'll keep you guys updated. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe on Instagram. You'll get exclusive access to my Discord. And subscribe to me on YouTube. You'll catch me on here when I go live on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll give you guys my thoughts about what's going on with the week, and we'll do a recap. If you have questions about anything specific, you can shoot something over to my DMs. It might take me a little bit to get to you, but I'll get to you. Support my work. My Venmo is in my bio. Subscribe on Instagram. That also helps. It's only 99 cents a month. That helps get me to a point where I can get to a point where I want to be. I want to eventually show up to DC, and I want to be able to shove a mic into some of these politicians' face, and I want to tell them to answer the fucking question. And there's not enough of that in this world. There really isn't. I appreciate you guys too. Thank you for listening the entire time. So, with that being said, thank you for listening to the Keith Goldsby Show. I'll keep you guys updated on my other platforms, and I'll see you guys next week. Please be safe, and I love you guys. See you later.